right. We are currently in the process of going live. I'm not bringing my webcam quite yet. If anybody can give me any feedback on the audio, that would be absolutely fantastic. I have a fan running, so I'm trying to make sure that's not interfering too bad. And getting some things set up here real quick. Beautiful. Thank you all for the feedback of my audio input. No, it was just a copyright strike. Not just demonetized it, but I'd rather not deal with copyright strikes. And speaking of, let's go ahead and get rid of this text here. Oh, not that one. Let's get rid of that one and put in my webcam. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. Thank you all for joining me today. In the stream, basically what we are going to be doing is first starting off with a general setup of EndeavourOS. What I went ahead and did is installed it because for the last not couple days, but since I uploaded that Zorin video, I've been going back and forth trying to figure out the distribution that can easily install DaVinci Resolve the best. And EndeavourOS is one of my favorite distributions. And before I started doing the 30-day review things, it is the one that I was in for the most part anyways. And unfortunately for myself, it is the last one I decided to try this in, and it is the first Linux distribution that installed DaVinci Resolve with absolutely no issues. If I go ahead and actually switch back to this scene, I could just do a simple Windows key R now and just open it up with absolutely no issues at all. And it plays and everything works good, but for now I'm going to close it out. There was a couple different little tweaks and things I had to do. Here, one sec, I'm going to go ahead and make that the proper size. There we go. But there were some tweaks and things I had to do. While we wait for some people to go ahead and filter in here, I'm going to be paying most of the attention to the chat for a bit. And let's go to move this out of the way. And I'm going to be talking about the DaVinci Resolve venture. But do not fret, right here, it's plugged in so I can't really pull it up all the way. This is the JingPad running, you can see the hello screen. I was actually able to reflash it, so we can actually go through the setup screen that you're going to be able to see when you actually purchase the device and first turn it on. But other than that, this is EndeavourOS, and I haven't done anything to this system other than installing DaVinci Resolve, OBS Studio, obviously, and I got GIMP because I needed to make that little thumbnail for the stream. Okay, so chat, audio's good, thank you. Did you quit using Kdenlive? I'm trying to. I'm in the process of quitting using Kdenlive. There's going to be a separate video on why. Primarily because there's too many bugs and little things you have to work around. Can I ask you something? Yes, you can if you'd like to. Why would it not work in other distros? It's not really the fault of DaVinci. Well, it is their fault, but it's because I have an AMD GPU, and it wants to use the non-open source drivers and not the ones that are just built into the kernel. So you have to get those drivers and to actually direct the software to use those versus the kernel, and to get it to actually detect them, it just doesn't work good. I mean, I got it to work in Fedora for a little bit. I edited one video in Fedora. I actually edited the last Zorin video in Fedora, and as soon as I switched to the KDE, I couldn't get it to work, so I had to use Kdenlive, and then I've been jumping around trying to figure out which one it would actually work in, and it works perfectly fine in EndeavourOS. It did require a little bit of work. I had to, here, if I go ahead, let's open up Firefox here real quick. Oh, I already have it open over there. Let's bring in a new tab over here. What I can show you is the Arch wiki for DaVinci Resolve. So the DaVinci Resolve Arch. Go ahead and open this up. TechHut, what distro would you recommend? It depends. It depends on what you like. That's a hard question to answer. Zorin is really good. We've been checking that out. If you're looking for a Ubuntu base, I'm on Endeavor because I like as close to Arch as you can get without having to actually install Arch. But this is the DaVinci Resolve page for the Arch installation, and generally it wasn't too bad. If I go to zoom in here, what we had to do, you can see right here, it's very specific on the GPU drivers that you have to use. So you can see right here, open source drivers. AMD GPU does not work with DaVinci Resolve, so we had to get this Pro driver here. And before, if I scroll down here, we can see that we had to use a workaround. Where is it? It's somewhere in here. We had to use a workaround to actually get it to work. Back to onboarding screen, audio. Yeah, actually replace. But essentially what I did is, now you just have to type a command and open it up with something. So if I go over to my keyboard settings, I set the command to execute on a hotkey. So keyboard, if I go to customize shortcuts, custom shortcuts, you can see it Resolve open with AMD Pro, and it will execute the Pro GL and then the location that the actual bin for Resolve is, and it works now. It's beautiful, it's magnificent. Resolve is definitely a much more professional editor than Kdenlive, so that's why I've been trying to get this to work. You can see like it does work with the OpenCL, but it definitely needed this, and to get it to actually direct properly was a challenge, especially in Ubuntu-based distributions. I tried a couple. Fedora, it kind of worked. It's actually built for Red Hat Linux and CentOS, but for the most part, it actually worked best on an Arch distribution, which put me right back to where I started in EndeavourOS. So let's go ahead and check out some chat real quick. I think you should use Debian. I would like to. Is that Pop! OS? No, this is Endeavor running just plain old vanilla GNOME at the moment. I haven't done any customizations. I've only installed a couple applications. Cutefish is absolutely beautiful. They're still developing it, and I'm excited to see how the Cutefish distribution develops over time. Let's see. Is it possible to get a new Pop! OS by hitting the super key? I am not sure at the moment. Do you think it will be possible to get GNOME like workspaces in Bungie DE? Anything's possible in Linux. I'm personally not a developer, so I can't really say how that would be done. I wouldn't recommend ParaOS, neither would I, and hola. Okay, so what we're going to do, how many people? We got 51 people here. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining. For those of you who have just recently joined, what I'm going to be doing today is setting up some things on my distribution for probably the first 20-30 minutes or so. And then we're going to be jumping into the JingPad here. It's kind of hard to see because it's plugged in, but you can see I have the hello screen. So from here, I'm going to actually show you the count setup process. And I'm going to be pulling clips from that and uploading a dedicated video on it. After this stream, if you haven't seen, I recently uploaded the announcement video that I personally made for the Debian release, which I accidentally uploaded too early because it's not released yet, but it will be hopefully within the hour or a matter of hours. Actually, let's check. Let's see if Debian's released yet. If you guys don't know, today is the official launch date of Debian 11 Bullseye. So that's something to be very excited for. So if I go debian.org and go over to download, are we on 10? Oh, we're still on 10. So anytime, sometime today, hopefully this is going to be switching over to 11. They've been posting things. If we go right here to micro news for the Debian website, you can see that they've been posting all day about the release, different things that are coming, and it should be anytime today. And I did briefly cover some of the things that's going to be going on in the video that I did on that separately, but that is a separate thing. So first things first, what I'm going to do is set this up. So the only other thing I actually did was I installed PAMAC. Now, if you're on a Arch system, I highly recommend using PAMAC as your graphical software management solution. It's the default package manager. Yeah, it's a package manager developed for the Manjaro system, but it works great in any Arch-based distro. If you install it through something like Yay, so if I jump over to the terminal here, throw this over here. Sorry, my desktop's going to start getting a little messy. Let's give this a zoom in. If you go the little too much, I covered up my windows. And you go Yay Pamac, not to be confused with Pac-Man. You can see the options we have here. If I scroll this down a little bit, there we go. You have the Pamac AUR, but if you're going to go ahead and get this on an Arch-based system, I'd recommend this one right here, the Pamac All, because this will give you everything from Flatpaks, snaps, app indicators for certain distributions, things like that. Overall, it is a good little utility. So let's go ahead and close out that terminal. Love your vids. Thank you so much. What do you think of Ubuntu? Ubuntu is a great base. Yeah, 1.1 billion lines of code. It's absolutely madness what they've created. And what they created is beautiful because if you're on anything that's based on Debian, if you're on Ubuntu, Pop! OS, Linux Mint, Kali Linux, sorry. If you're on one of those distributions, you're using this project. It's a beautiful project. Okay. So we need to get some software. First of all, MPV. We already have MPV. It's under add remove software, so we need to get that. One thing I'm going to do real quick is get rid of VLC. VLC is something that I do not personally enjoy, so let's go ahead and remove that. And then what we're going to do is search for MPV. MPV is a lot simpler. It handles the codecs better. It is overall a great little piece of software. So apply, and VLC comes with a lot of extra tools that you don't really need. And I just want a video player. I don't want VLC. So can't forget. Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I was trying to say. Can you make a video on how to get? Yes, I can do that. Getting it working with the in Arch Linux is probably the way that you're going to have to do it. I got it working on Fedora, but you had to do a lot of stuff that basically tricking your distribution or tricking the software to think it had the right drivers when it was really using the open source drivers. It was a mess. With the Arch way, the open source drivers are the main drivers on your system, but you open up DaVinci Resolve and it uses those non-open source drivers just based off of a command. So it works pretty good. Okay. And the main reason I'm kind of stalling is because this JingPad was like dead. So I'm having to charge up here while I ramble and gather some things that I'm going to need anyway. VM VirtualBox. Let's go ahead and grab that. And apply. Okay. Oh, I should have got the guest drivers. It's okay. Right here, we'll just go with the first one. And chances are I'm going to have to go and enable the kernel module support. Can you say hi in live chat? Hello. Arch-based distros for Manjaro. Are there any alternative Arch-based distros for Manjaro? Yeah, there's tons. There's tons. You could go Endeavor. Well, Endeavor is generally my go-to, but there's Arco Linux. There's a lot. Where do you learn this stuff without blindly leading? Wikis. Everything I know is from reading a wiki or watching a YouTube video. And I don't even really know that much. I'm just I'm a casual user who is addicted to this stuff. I'm not a sysadmin. I'm not a developer. I just like to make YouTube videos about things I care about, generally. So, categories. One other thing we need, we already got GIMP. That's one of the main things. We want to get Discord. So I believe that Discord is in the AUR. I know it was in a DNF when I was just in Fedora. I'm so used to using Fedora because I've been using it for just over a month. I love your videos. Thank you so much. What do you recommend for NVIDIA drivers that's Arch based? Honestly, if you're having issues getting your NVIDIA drivers to work, I would try out Garuda Linux. Perfect suggestion right there. Garuda Linux is great when it comes to NVIDIA driver support. If you really want to go overboard, you could get the Garuda Gaming Edition. Do be careful though. The actual ISO file is over 8 gigabytes, so be careful with that one. Do we have GNOME tweaks? Is this installed out of the gate? Okay, cool, it is. So we're gonna go ahead and actually I think we're gonna get ready to do this JingPad thing. So it might take me a sec to set up, so do bear with me. I'm going to be using this right here to prop it up. This is the little JingPad keyboard. Here, I'll go ahead and switch over to webcam only so you all can see what I'm talking about. This is that little JingPad keyboard. It's pretty nice. The typing's good. It's a little wobbly, but not too bad. If you remember to put this out, which I always forget to do, it's way better. And one thing with the JingPad, the magnets in it are so powerful. This doesn't have any like clips to actually clip it in or anything, but the magnets on this thing is so powerful that I can hold it and shake it around and the JingPad's going to stay in there and be fine. I kind of demonstrated that in that video, but I didn't emphasize it as much as it is. You can actually stick the JingPad to like a fridge and it's going to stay, so that's pretty cool. So what I'm going to have to do, everybody bear with me, because I'm going to have to move this webcam, kind of shift it. I'm going to put it here and face it this way. So bear with me while I kind of set this up so we could take our first look at the JingPad. Not first look, this is like the 5th look, but our first look live, focusing primarily on JingOS. So I gotta move some things out of the way. I didn't completely prepare for this segment of the video, or of the live stream. So we're gonna move this over here. So one thing I'm gonna grab is right over here. I've got this little tripod guy that we're gonna be using this with. It's almost done. They're releasing it. It's not almost done. You'll see when we go through this JingPad that there's definitely some work to do. It's still in alpha. They're releasing the beta devices soon, so I would assume that they're going to be going into beta. But I didn't use it for like probably 4 days or so, and I flashed it with a new update, and even in that new update, there was some good improvements. One, the virtual keyboard was working a lot better in non-native applications. So that's kind of a huge deal, because before, when I first reviewed the thing, this keyboard was the only one you could really use with it, because the virtual keyboard had issues coming up, except for in the terminal. But then if you closed it, you couldn't open it again. But we're going to be checking all that out. So one thing I'm going to do real quick is go like this and switch over to this chat, just so it's a little bit smaller, so you guys aren't getting the whole camera shaking everywhere and all that jazz. So let's go ahead and take this off. There we go. Try to move this up and around without ripping anything down. There we go. Mission success. Y'all can get a nice view of my keyboard for a moment. Schooner, I will be happy to Discord video with you. I'm probably going to be streaming for about another 30 minutes to an hour. So, here we have the JingPad. I'm going to be setting this up so we get a better view. Sorry I'm doing all this live, everybody. But you can also hear me talking, so that's good. And I'll be taking that out of frame in just a moment. So let's go ahead and unplug this. Hallelujah. This is the JingPad. Now I'm going to try to position it so it's not too, the light's not too in the way. And let's move this so it's a little more balanced. This is ultimately going to be a separate video, so I'm really going to try to get the camera positioning okay, because I don't want to have to re-record this. The point of the video is that I'm doing this live, basically. So let's get it like, let's go over here with it. I like to do things at a slight angle. Ah! Right about there. Cool. Oh, oh. Alright, we almost got this, everybody. Beautiful. Almost. Let's go down a little bit. Okay, we're looking a little bit better. So I think this is going to be the final shot. And it's actually looking pretty good. And while I'm talking about this, I'm going to take chat off the screen because I am going to be recording. But yeah, it's looking good. So let's go ahead and I want to record this. So start recording. All right, so we're now recording too. All right, so we're going to get rid of the chat. And here we go. So this is the JingPad. I would like to note that this is definitely alpha level software. It's gotten a lot better since we checked it out last time in our first review. And just so you guys know who are watching the live stream, I'm recording this for a video, so I might randomly pause, take breaths, things like that. Yeah. So this is alpha software. This is currently running JingOS 0.9.1. And what we're going to do real quick is go ahead and run through this. Right here we have the initial setup screen. We weren't able to see this last time, but since I had the opportunity to go ahead and flash it, now we can. So getting right into it, it says starting now. So I'm just going to tap on that. You can see we have two options here. And before we get into those two options, I'm going to do a quick adjustment here. So let's go to properties and let's go to exposure. Absolutely stunning. Okay. So we have American English and we have Mandarin. For me, unless if I don't want to do anything, let's go ahead and go American English and go next. And here we can set up our username and password. So this is a preview of the virtual keyboard that they're eventually going to be going with. They're working on another one that actually works pretty well when it comes to opening it up in web browsers and things like that. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and create my account here. So let's go just with my first name. And then we're going to make a super strong, super secure password of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that will do when it comes to keeping it safe. And from here we have time zones. Luckily we could just go ahead and search. I'm in Los Angeles time zone. Thankfully not in Los Angeles. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of that keyboard. Hit next. And now we have our Wi-Fi options. I'm going to cut this out real quick while I connect. So let's go like this and this. So right now I am going to connect to my Wi-Fi, so bear with me everybody, because my Wi-Fi password is similar to my other passwords. Dun, dun, dun. It's not the same, but it's similar. Something I still wouldn't want people to see. So let's go to chat, bring this back in here. So once you type in your password into the Wi-Fi area, we could go ahead and hit the check, and then it's going to go ahead and connect. Now, this takes a little bit longer than normal. Actually, that took the first time I connected this, it took a lot longer. I'm going to do one more quick edit to the webcam properties. So sorry, guys. Just want to make sure it's focused and all that jazz. Okay, perfect. So now that we are connected to our Wi-Fi, we could go ahead and go next. And you have an option to share your basically analytics and what you're doing with JingOS. I'm going to go ahead and hit share with JingOS. And then we have welcome to JingOS. There is a agreement. So it's basically saying this is a developer version and you understand that. So we're going to go ahead. You have your legal provisions here. What do they collect? So the version number, your country, your time zone, things like that. Typical things. Well, not too typical for Linux, but typical when it comes to license agreements. So let's go ahead and attempt to close out of there. I have agree, and I agree above. So now we should be booting on into the JingPad. Great wife, yeah, city girls. Alright, now from here, I'm not going to do any cuts in the video that's going to go live. So I'm going to try to go through this without taking long breaths or stuttering or anything like that. So this is a sample device. This is the JingPad A1 DVT. So the hardware isn't 100% what's going to go out to public, but it's pretty close. And this is alpha, like I said in the beginning. So type in our super secure password. And then here is JingOS. Now I absolutely hate this big watermark here. So what we're going to do is go ahead and actually get rid of that. So we're going to start off by going through the actual settings. And you saw we were connected to my Wi-Fi, Hopkey-Fi. There's Bluetooth, which works fairly well. The developers want me to kind of demo this with a Bluetooth mouse, but I don't have it, but they say it works absolutely great. Cellular is not working yet. You have the option for VPN. And then here we have password, location services. Right here we have display and brightness. So I didn't really demonstrate this in our first review. So for this video, we're going to go ahead and switch. We'll restart your pad. Actually cancel. We'll stick with the light mode for now. So our wallpaper. This is what I actually want to change. Let's go ahead and pick something else so we don't have that ugly watermarker. Let's go with this one. I'd say that's looking good. Let's set that. And you have the option to set lock screen, home screen, or both. I'm going to go ahead and just set that as both. And then here we have sounds. So you have your voice, your ringtone. You can switch it to silent mode if you'd like to. Under system and update, this is your about, software updates, legal stuff, and reset. If I go under about, you can see some of the information on the device, including the model name, JingOS. The current software version is 0.9.1, has about 8 gigabytes of RAM. The internal storage for some reason says 42 gigabytes. I'm assuming that's how much is being used because there's actually, I think, 512 gigabytes on this JingPad here. So, serial number, all that. Probably shouldn't share that, but I'm willing to take risks here. We have our American English, time and date. You can have automatic time zone, set it to 24-hour time, really whatever you want to do. Under battery, you can see how much we have remaining. Got it charged up so it doesn't die on us. And storage, see, this is what I was talking about. It's not 512, it's 256 gigabyte, and we're using 8.6. So I'm not too sure why it says internal storage 42 here. So just gonna ignore that for now. We have virtual keyboard always on. I'm not going to do that. We have trackpad here, and one thing, oh, we're out of focus. Here, I'm gonna fix this real quick, everybody, sorry. Properties, I'm gonna disable autofocus, and then whoop, let's fix this real quick. There we go. All right. The keyboard with this right now doesn't work. This trackpad has no function whatsoever. When they actually release this, it's going to work perfectly fine, but as of now, just the keyboard works. That's just kind of a preview device thing that just got to deal with for now. It's fairly responsive. You saw that kind of lag there a little bit with the first touch, but they'll fix responsiveness and all that as they go forward. Then we have the mouse settings. If I go device, we can see that there's nothing connected. Nothing connected to Bluetooth or anything like that. Pointer control. If I did hook it up to a mouse, I'd have the option to change it to the arrow style. That's very nice, and then you could change the size and all that. So that is our settings application. And if you're not familiar, we could go ahead and just swipe up to put it up. You can see how responsive it is. We can just swoop, and then we can move these around or swipe it up to get rid of it. And then we are on the home page now. So what I'm going to do now is kind of go through all these applications here since we went through the settings menu. And we're going to start off with media player. I don't have any media on here, so I can't really give a proper demonstration of this. And I'm not cutting anything out or anything so you guys can see how long everything takes to load. But video, music, you have your liked and lately. It's probably just a typical media playing application. One thing I really like over here is files. This will give you the full access to your entire Linux file system, your whole Linux file structure. Some of the organization right now is pretty weird in this beta version or this alpha version. So I think like I remembered like this one right here. I memorized, I have no idea what this says, but I know that's where like camera pictures are stored. But they said all this will be fixed, or this will be changed with the official version. These Chinese characters won't be there. We have downloads, trash. If I go over to, for example, let's go to, can I just go to my, let's see, location, downloads, so back. Oh, they might have changed that. That's okay though. But here we are in our actual home directory with all of our stuff. I'm not sure how I got to it last time, but before I was able to get back into the root directories and all that. I'm not sure if they changed it or what exactly. Here, if I tap that, we have icons, name, date. You can organize everything there. That little button's to make new folders. And overall, it's very nice, fairly responsive. Actually manipulating things. One thing I'm gonna have to do, I'm gonna go take a picture real quick. So let's go ahead and open up our camera. It might be on me, so you might see. Oh, nope. That's not a very good picture. So let's go ahead. Let's flip it around so you guys can kind of see what's going on my end. There we are. Hello, everybody, through a camera, through another camera, through a thing. So I'm gonna take a picture real quick. Just like that, and now we're going to swipe up, get rid of that, go back here, and then if I go under this folder, go to camera, you can see our one image that's in there. So here if I did like, let's say a long press, here we could do open mode, copy, cut, delete, rename, info, tags, compress, basically anything you'd expect if you were to right click, for example. So let's go ahead and slide this up, close that out. And next we have the Chromium web browser. Chromium on this thing works absolutely magnificent, primarily because it actually supports the moving around of the screen. So let's go to a website. Let's go to techhut.tv, hit enter. And on this website, I'm still working on it, so don't judge the website too much. You can see that it's fairly responsive. The hardware acceleration is fairly good. There's probably about a half-second delay at the moment with me dragging my finger and the actual web browser moving. It's definitely workable, but you can tell it's not completely immediate. But it's not too bad. If I go ahead, let's go ahead and open something else like a YouTube video. So let's go to YouTube. Let's play one of my own things so I don't get in trouble. So YouTube, TechHut, and then let's go ahead and open up this Debian Bullseye video I just uploaded. Turn it down a little bit. We got a little ad here we're going to have to watch. So I'm going to mute it for just a sec. And you can see the playback is pretty good. There's no lag or anything at all. Everything opens up. I get all of YouTube's little pop-ups just fine. If I go ahead and hit skip, and let's make sure that we're playing at 1080p. Let that load up. And then full screen this at 1080p. If it wants to. There we go. You can see it's playing just fine. There's no lag or anything. It's working pretty good. You just saw the animations of the little extra videos up here. If I go ahead and tap on it, you can kind of see what's going on. I could tap on that. It's going to pause that video, open up a new tab. So right now on this little thing, I have 3 Chrome tabs open. I'm going to close that out or pause that. And you can see overall it's running fairly well. With 3 tabs open, I can slide up, see what's going on, read comments. We could, zoomed in there. We could watch what you guys are watching through this camera through mega inception here. So let's open up the live stream that we're currently watching. So you're watching this live stream through that, through that, through that. And it's working pretty good. And we have your guys' chat so you guys can see yourself in this video. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. That was just basically demonstrating this thing can play videos just fine. Everything works. There's not too much lag. There's a little bit of input lag, but in general, it's running pretty good. Next up, we have clock. So your standard clock application. Oh, look, you can see me. Your standard clock application, we have our alarm, so you could go ahead and add an alarm. And then let's go ahead, you can set this for whatever you want, add labels. You can allow yourself to snooze. You got a stopwatch, you got a timer. Anything you'd expect out of a mobile clock application. So let's go and swipe that up, get rid of it. Then we have calendar. This, again, is your standard calendar application. You could go ahead, shuffle through here, September, October, November. You could add specific events on different days. So I can add something. So let's say something. And you can set an alert, set a time, set a date. So let's say I added this on the 20th, hit OK. And now we are going to be doing something on the 20th in August at 1:05 p.m. So very standard calendar application. And now we have voice memos. So voice memos is nice. It works exactly as you'd think it would work. If I go ahead and start talking, it will record my audio, and then I could go ahead and stop it and play it back. You guys can't really hear it, but I'll bump this up. You can see they've done very well with the general responsiveness of everything. So if I go ahead and start talking, it will record my audio, and then I could go ahead. It's probably very quiet on your end, but you get the point. And now I have two applications open here. If I want to get rid of everything at once, I just hit this trash can. And then if I try to go swipe up, you see that it says there are no running tasks. Before it didn't say that, nothing would come up. So that's something they added since we checked this out last time. You can see I accidentally hit the shortcut for the K-Search application up here. So this is running KDE Plasma. It's the mobile version of Plasma. But with that said, there is still the Plasma applications and elements and things like that. Alright, so calculator. Simple calculator utility. 2 plus 2 does in fact equal 4. So this proves without a shadow of a doubt that this works perfectly fine. So slide that up, swipe it out. And now we have camera. You guys briefly saw this when we just took that picture. You're probably going to see me again or see the back of this. But even on my finger here, if I touch to focus on it, that's a little too close. That was kind of pushing it. But you can see if I focus on the monitor here, you can see the dust and everything. So it's a very good camera, especially for close-up photography, things like that. In the actual video I'm going to be uploading after the fact, I'll go ahead and put a picture of my dog that I took on this. For a tablet camera, it's good. If we go ahead and flip this around, you can see me once again. It's not the best front-facing camera. On the actual review, I went ahead and recorded myself for a minute and put the footage on the video, and the audio is a little tinny. This is a little pixelated, but if you're doing something simple like Zoom calls or something like that, it's going to be good enough. It's better than most cheap $30 webcams. Overall, it's pretty good. So let's go ahead and flip this back over so you don't have to stare at me too long. And here we're on the camera mode, but we can always switch over to video, take videos of things, and then if I go ahead and tap on this bubble up here, this will take us on a shortcut to our gallery, and then you can see the front camera. If I zoom into this tripod that I'm currently using to record this, I mean, it looks pretty good. It's not too grainy. The colors are a bit washed out because I have these big lights up here in the background, but overall it looks pretty good. Now here, we could go ahead and do some crop action. So let's say I only wanted a picture of my webcam and my Linux shirt, because why not? We could go like that, hit the check, and then that is our picture. So And overall it looks really good. You can see the overall responsiveness of the actual picture thing. One thing I'm really looking forward to that we don't have access to at the moment is that JingPad pencil. It's going to have a pressure sensitivity. So depending on how hard you push on it, it's going to be able to give you feedback, thicker lines if you're drawing, things like that. I know I didn't mention this. I mentioned this in the first video. This is a... actually, we'll go ahead. Let's put NeoFetch on here. So we're going to swipe up. That was kind of the Photos application. We'll jump back into there just in case if we missed anything. But let's open up the terminal, shall we? This is the fun part. Sorry, you can kind of see my reflection. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. So Control Plus, we can. Good day, so you all can actually see what I'm typing. So this is an Ubuntu-based distribution, so let's go sudo apt update. So we can update our repositories. Type in my super complicated password. And it doesn't run as quick as like a super well built desktop computer, but overall it is pretty good. So we're going to wait for this to go ahead and get those repositories. 3 packages can be upgraded. I'm not going to do that for now because what we want to do is sudo apt install NeoFetch. So hit enter. And it's cool because we saw everything that it was just doing before. Functioning like a tablet, really nice swipe gestures, moderately okay when it comes to the what's the word I'm looking for? The delay in the actual movements. But now we have a full Linux terminal that we are interacting with the Ubuntu base. So it's pretty cool. So now if I go ahead, let's just do NeoFetch. One of my favorite applications. We can see we got the nice little JingOS logo made with JingOS. And this is the JingOS Preview Edition on the Arch 64 architecture. The kernel version is 4.14. Now that is a little out of date, so hopefully by the time they come out with the full version, they're at least using like the 5.10 LTS kernel. But we'll see as they develop. They really haven't mentioned anything about the kernel. Uptime, it's been up for an hour. You can see that we are running Plasma 5.20.5 on Wayland. And you can see the themes, console. CPU is a T7510 8 cores at 1.82 gigahertz. So it's a pretty powerful CPU in here. It's 8 cores. Granted, it's an ARM processor. They're not the strongest, but they are good with power and everything. So in my time using this, I would say with heavy use, it lasts me about 6 hours or so. They're staying on the 4.14 kernel, according to chat. So we'll see as time goes on. We have 8 gigabytes of RAM in this thing. So overall, it's a pretty nice machine. And like, let's say, what's an application that we could go ahead and grab? GIMP. So we could do sudo apt install GIMP. And this is something that's not in their store right now, which we haven't really opened yet, but we're going to go ahead and install this. You can see it works like any other terminal, Ubuntu terminal. You just go ahead and install applications. It's a little bit slower, so it says 3 minutes remaining. And the cool thing about this, it's mobile. It's has very good multitask support. So I could just go like that, close out some of the other things that I was doing, and then go into Chromium, for example, and do something else. Go look up news, load up a podcast, watch a YouTube video, and then let's go check up on our terminal and see how far it's going. Alright, so it's installing, so we're a lot closer now, so the multitasking is fairly decent. And one thing I want to do too when this is done is run htop, so I can kind of show you guys the performance. So right once it's done, we'll have a GIMP, and then we could go ahead and do that. One thing I'm not going to be able to show you guys today is the Android applications, because I just flashed this, and getting those Android applications is a bit of a process at the moment until they come out with the official version. So let's go. Well, they might actually already have htop installed. Let's see if they do. Htop. They do not, so we just got to give it a quick install. Htop. Anything that is in the Ubuntu ARM repositories is available for this device. So that's awesome. And that's really the only limitation for this at the moment, is its ARM. ARM isn't necessarily new, but it's fairly new in when it comes to the industry-wide adoption of the ARM architecture. So now we could go ahead and run htop and see how this thing's performing. Let's make sure there's nothing else really running in the background. So let's get rid of Chrome real quick. And we are at 2.17 gigabytes of RAM on 8 gigs. That's not too bad. They are running a lot of different Plasma things. The processor first core seems to be hovering somewhere in between 10 and 12%, but all the other cores are staying a little lower at like 5 or under, or 0 for some of them. And we can see some of the things we have going on. We have Kwin Wayland console, which is what's open, and typical things that you'd expect to be running. Plasma shell, anything you'd expect on a mobile Plasma system. We have theme stuff. Python is running in the background. We have logged Android stuff. So overall, it is working fine. And one thing we just installed was GIMP. So let's go ahead, fire this up, and I can show you that you have the capabilities of a full desktop computer. I really wish I had a Bluetooth mouse so I could just plug this in and actually do some graphical work real quick, because when it comes to touch, you can see my huge sausage fingers compared to the size of the buttons. I gotta be really specific when I'm pressing these buttons. So we opened up a 1080p image, and one thing that I could kind of do to demonstrate how long it's going to take is apply a filter. So if we go filter, render, which one was it? Lava, I believe. This is something that I use a lot of the times in benchmarking to do side by side. And I'm not putting it side by side against something, but on a lower end system, this usually takes about 10 to 15 seconds, while on a good system, it takes about 5. So if hit OK there, we can see how long it takes. So let's see how well. I'm not really going to edit anything out so you guys can actually see the proper time and everything. Wow, that was pretty quick. That took about the same amount of time as my ThinkPad, which is running a Intel Core i5. I believe it's a 5000 series Intel Core i5, so it kind of matched the performance of that. That's really good. And I could go ahead, for example, those buttons are so small I'm not going to be able to actually manipulate them or do anything. Something like this, a desktop application, you're definitely going to want a Bluetooth mouse on hand, or when this trackpad actually works, which it does not at the moment. That's going to be really nice to be able to use this to like put together thumbnails and stuff on the go. It works very, very well. So we could go ahead and close this out. I'm not sure if it's going to ask me if I want to save it or if it's just going to kill it. Yeah, I think it just kills the application. So there's no dialogues. So do make sure that you save what you want to save, because apparently that just is a kill. Yeah, so that is basically what's going on here. The one thing we didn't really look at yet is this Jing store. There's not too much going on in here yet because they're still building on everything. You can see we have Krita, LMMS, Thunderbird, Firefox. Let's go ahead and just get Firefox real quick. These are the only applications that we have. And one thing you can see that this keyboard is probably what's going to be the official keyboard. Don't quote me on that though. But if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hit OK, we go ahead and get Firefox. And while it gets that, let's go ahead and open up Chrome and see if I could get that virtual keyboard to come up. I'm not sure if it's not going to do it because it's plugged in, but if I tap up here, maybe if I tap here. Okay, let's try disconnecting it real quick without dropping it and embarrassing myself. So now it's disconnected. Let's go ahead and swipe up, close that out, reopen it, see if that virtual keyboard comes up. There we go. Yeah, so it did recognize that it was plugged into this thing, so the virtual keyboard didn't come up. You can see this virtual keyboard is a little bit different than the native one, and they're in the process of working on this to get it to open up in other applications. But overall, it works great. If I Google something, so Let's Google Tech Hut. Hit enter. Oh, just took us to the website. That works too. But you get the point. It's working. So we just set that there. It's all magnets. Go ahead and swipe that up. We go to our store. You can see Firefox finished up. So we go ahead and swipe up. Close this out, and we have the Firefox web browser. So now, this web browser isn't mobile optimized as much, so you can see if I try to slide, it thinks I'm on a desktop and it thinks I'm clicking and dragging. So I gotta grab this little bar and bring it down, but it's still very usable. I still end up using this over the Chromium when I'm using this, versus the Chromium that actually had the proper controls. So if I Google Tech Hut and don't go to the website, you can see this one has that mobile touch capabilities, while if we pop over to Firefox, you can see that how well the multitasking is. Just boom, 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 boom. Beautiful. This does not have that. So I'm trying to think, is there anything else we need to cover? One thing we didn't really jump into is the Photos application. So let's jump in there real quick. So you have all photos, video. If I go to this photo, you can see what's going on here. This is the one we cropped earlier from the actual camera application. We could go ahead and do touch-ups. So if I go tap right here. Oh no, that's to set the background. It looks like a little like wand to do edits, but that is apparently to set the background. I could crop it again, or if I want to, let's say I don't like this picture, I go delete it, delete, done. So overall, that is my little walkthrough of JingPad and JingOS. They are still developing it, so there is a lot more to come in the future. I do hope you all enjoyed it. As this updates and progresses, I will be coming out with more videos on this. Right now, while I have this all set up, if chat has any questions or anything, now is the time to ask. If you want me to try to look something up, install something that's compatible with the ARM architecture, now is the time to go ahead and do those requests. And if nobody requests nothing in the next minute or so, that's fine. I'm not too picky. So terminal, and then, yeah, this is your standard Linux terminal. It's nice. So we go neofetch, which we've already done, but I'm just trying to kill some time. Dark mode. Yeah, we'll do dark mode because I don't want to cut that out for the video. So let's go ahead and enable dark mode. Let's go, where is it? I think it's, where's the appearance settings? Display and brightness, dark. So change appearance, we'll restart our pad. Let's go ahead and restart it. Which I'm not sure honestly why it needs to restart. You saw I hit the button, so hopefully it's actually going to restart and work. Otherwise, this is going to be a very poor demonstration. At the moment, I can't put any other Linux distributions on it because it's like the drivers and stuff don't work properly with anything else at the moment. I know one of the developers told me that somebody is working on a Ubuntu Touch for this. So eventually you're probably going to be able to load Ubuntu Touch on this and have a really good time if you don't like JingOS. But being that this is basically KDE Plasma Mobile, it's going to be fairly customizable when it does actually come out. And we actually were able to see the boot time there, so the boot time wasn't too dramatic. And now let's go ahead and see what this dark mode looks like, thanks to the person that went ahead and suggested that. You can see my Wi-Fi connected. If I go ahead and swipe down here, we can kind of see how that dark mode is looking. So I have my Wi-Fi on, Bluetooth on. I could change my brightness here, so I can make it all the way dark or all the way bright for you. Let's go ahead and close that out. Let's go to settings and see what this dark mode looks like in there. Ooh, yeah, that is looking much better. I do like that way better. This is personally my first time using the dark mode. That's kind of why I was like a little bit hesitant to try this out while I was recording for the video that's going to come out in a couple days. Yeah, so this is looking good. If I go to display and brightness, you can see all that. If I go to wallpaper, system wallpaper, you can see all that. say if we wanted the mountains, we could set that. Set to both, swipe up. Beautiful. Overall, this is a magnificent device, and I am really excited for the future development and to be able to use it more on a full-time basis, especially when everything works well. And it's really cool that this is basically Ubuntu. It's running Ubuntu. It's very, very nice. So I'm going to put my camera back to where it was. So I'm going to go ahead and do the whole webcam juggle. Ignore him. He's yeah. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and switch to this scene here, so you guys don't get like camera sick while I'm moving this around. But yeah, that's the JingPad. It's a very, very nice device. So let's unscrew this. I do hope that you all enjoyed that in-depth, unedited look at the JingPad. I know it's something that I was wanting to do, but I ran into an issue. So that's why I haven't done anything on the JingPad in a couple days, because I did a full upgrade and something crashed and I needed the developer to help me flash it. So that's why the JingPad content hasn't been there in the last couple days. There we go. How many people do we got in here? 66. Thank you for anybody who's stayed tuned during this live stream, checking out the JingPad. I do definitely appreciate it. Just another little view of it. This is the device, and there's no clips or anything like I mentioned earlier. I'm hitting buttons. So to pull it off, you just go like that. Here it is. It's fairly thin for having 8 gigs of RAM and a 8-core processor. There it is. I never took the sticker off. These are the little connectors right here for the keyboard, and it's a USB Type-C. And one thing I do want to point out, I was wrong. I made a mistake in the initial review of this, because I said that these two are speakers, which I was wrong. In reality, it's really nice. It has stereo speakers. So right here, this one is the speaker. So the two bottoms right here, these two are speakers, and then the top two are vents. So you have 2 separate speakers for left and right, and then you have your air vents up on the top. So overall, I mean, it just looks good. Like, it's not, it does kind of, it looks like an iPad, but it's running Linux, so it's cooler. I'll go ahead and pop this in the background like that. There we go. All right, so Endeavor ARM maybe later someday. Hopefully, once they to actually flash this, it was really weird. I had to use like a really weird like dot backup file, and I had to do it on Windows, which was another weird thing. But that's probably they're gonna make an easier way to switch distributions and stuff. Hopefully. So I would like to try other ARM-based things on this, but as far as like driver support for those, I don't think it's there quite yet, even if you have like the latest and greatest Linux kernel. So yeah, what are we at on time here? 1 hour and 32. Yeah, so we're gonna, here, let's bring chat in so we all can see what we're talking about here. I am gonna end this off here. One thing I do want to do before we end it completely is open up files, go into backup. I want to try to see if I can get this on OBS properly. What I'm gonna do is top secret, because it's kind of a plug and also a thank you. So image backups, there it is. Control C, Control V, boom. 1 p.m. here, 2 a.m. Is the stream lagging for anybody else? If it is, I am incredibly sorry. Let's add a image. browse, documents, credits, open. Okay. Yes, it worked. All right. So, here we go. One thing I'd like to do is say thank you to our YouTube members and Patreon supporters. Currently, we have 3 producer level supporters. Actually, as of yesterday, we have 2 producer level supporters. Thank you, Phil Mack and Kyle. I think Kyle's in here, and Deep to Deep is in here. Thank you guys for joining the live stream. Mitchell Valentino is going to be moving up to a executive level supporter, so thank you very much, Mitchell Valentino, for that. Means a lot. Thank you to all the Techie Plus and Techies for supporting me, whether that be on YouTube or Patreon. If you do it through YouTube, you get cool little badges, kind of like you see right here with Kyle and Deep da Deep. Do it through YouTube, you get that. If you don't like YouTube for whatever reason, you could do it through Patreon. Patreon gives more to the creators, but it's emojis are cool. So whatever you want to do, you don't even have to. Subscribing and liking is more than enough when it comes to overall support. With all that said, I do hope you enjoyed this. The last thing I'm going to do is talk about some upcoming projects. So to those of you who are currently still in here, little spoiler, the weirdest project coming up is this thing. It may look like a typical smartwatch, but it's kind of creepy because it has a little camera on it. Probably one of the creepiest things. I get a lot of emails from smartwatch, like Chinese smartwatch companies, because I made like one video on a watch a year ago and it did okay. So every other day I'll have somebody wanting me to check out their watch, and usually they're all garbage, but this one had a camera on it, so I was like, oh, okay, send it on over, I want to check it out. So I'm going to do a video on that. Very weird. Tomorrow we're going to be checking out a utility that's going to allow us to multi-boot. So if I actually go ahead and let's jump to scene real quick, move this out of the way. Right here, Vintoy. If you ever heard of Vintoy, we're going to be uploading this video tomorrow. These are all ISO images of some of my favorite Linux distributions, and right now this is bootable. So if I boot to this USB, it will actually list out all of these. If you're a YouTube member, you've probably already seen this video, because YouTube members got exclusive access to this one ahead because it has a sponsorship in it, and I had to wait for them to approve it. That's the primary reason. So that video is coming up. Additionally, let's go over here. We are going to be checking out Nextcloud. I'm going to be doing a full in-depth tutorial setting up Nextcloud. I'm going to show you how to do it both locally and on Linode, because they're sponsoring that video, which is super cool. So I get to set it up and give you guys, I think it's $100 credit when I come out with that link and all that. So we're going to be setting up Nextcloud, hooking it up to a domain name, setting up SSL certificates and all that, so it's HTTPS when you access it, which will give you, 1, the security aspect, and 2, it will make it so you can use things like the Twitter widgets and things like that. That's one thing I'm looking forward to putting out. That's actually the next video I'm going to be working on, and that should be out either Monday or Tuesday. We're going to be uploading what you guys saw. If you're just joining the stream, I'm going to be uploading a separate video going over basically what we did today, but I'm going to edit it just a little bit, going a live demo of the JingPad. So if you missed that, you won't, essentially. And as far as projects lined up, I think that's it. I have a whole list somewhere, but those are the main ones. So ultimately, with that said, I do want to thank you. I'm not doing Nextcloud on the Pi. I currently have Nextcloud running on a little mini PC, but it works perfectly fine on the Raspberry Pi. With all that said, I do hope you all have a beautiful day. I'm going to go black screen for a minute so I don't cut out my stream too soon. But thank you all for watching. Do make sure you're subscribed if you want to become a YouTube member like some of these fine folks over here. Join button down below. Thank you all oh so very much, and goodbye.